Sure.
Welcome back. This is the Alchemist Nation podcast. My name is Walter Morello. It's a real estate podcast. I get to travel all across the country, talk to millionaires, multimillionaires. And today I've got a very special guest, Devon McGuinness. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
Very good. Very good. So you've got your name up here as devonmcguinness.com. She, her, explain. What is this about?
So devonmcguinness.com is my website. And I've been encountering a lot of conferences lately where that kind of information is important, and it helps to put everybody in awareness.
Absolutely. So what kind of conferences have you been going to lately?
So I support a lot of small businesses and nonprofits. And so I've been attending and volunteering. I enjoy volunteering and giving and being of service to others. So, helping where I can and with my skills, and always looking to, help educate and also just, lend a hand. Everybody needs a hand to be lent every once in a while.
I'll tell you, I think we all do. I don't care where you're at, what you're doing. So Devon, how'd you get involved in real estate? What was it that made you say, okay, I'm going to go get into this?
Well, it's interesting. I'm not specifically in real estate. It is, something that I think is a fascinating piece of how we accumulate wealth, as well as, how it drives our society. But really, I'm interested in the data. So I'm a data storyteller. And so I got into that because I made maps for a while, and I realized the sense of place is really important. And so all of the information that goes into understanding, where we are, and so whether that is a map or perhaps it's not a sense of place as in the physical location, but maybe it's our digital sense of place, our digital community, and understanding how and where we fit into that. And that's really where I enjoy getting into the data, is bringing that humanity back.
So I spend all my time online, right? I spend all my time in the digital space. I told Doreen all the time, like, she can go outside and enjoy herself. I'm perfectly happy here in the lair, surrounded in monitors, surrounded in iPhones, computers, and Android, and all these different devices. So it's very easy to get distracted, right? As a brand, as a personal brand, as a real estate investor, as an agent, your personal brand is where people trust you and decide they want to work with you. And it's very easy to get distracted. In fact, I'm wearing one brand now. I got another brand up here, and 100 Millionaire is my name. So there's a lot of different things that, get confused. What is it that you bring to the digital asset, to the digital world? What would you say is some of the biggest strengths that you have in this?
So the strength that I bring is the ability to look at a spreadsheet and start to understand the narrative behind it. So, as we're on, you said it yourself, you're online now more than ever. And so you leave a trace of yourself on the web in a way, but through data, whether it's leaving a cookie, right? Putting a cookie on your, or a cache, or, the websites that you've gone to and you've opted into letting them see your data. Google Analytics is that free plugin. And so all of those different analytics pieces are available in a way that we can understand and start to communicate on that level. And so I find that to be really powerful on how you can understand your customers. I like to think of it as, building a concept of the physical world into your virtual world. You don't see your customer walk into your store, pick up something from aisle 5 and put it back. But if you dig a little bit behind the curtain, so to say, and look at your data, you can see some of that.
Very interesting. So you're talking about bounce rates, you're talking about how long they stay on the website, or other virtual models. So for me as a coach, right? So my goal is to always build and find more people. But it doesn't matter if you're the best coach on the planet if you don't know where your audience is, right? Because it's about going and finding them and then actually selling them what they're looking for, or selling what they think they want. And then as a coach, you'd give them something totally different because that's what they actually want. So how do you start with that? How do you start that process?
So I work with nonprofit, like I said, I worked with organizations, and we help to drill down and align those pieces, right? So understanding their needs. And so we dig into that section of their analytics, or, I do additional research to help them clarify what those analytics could mean for them.
Yeah.
That results, and that's that storytelling aspect. It's what's going on in the greater trends, but also what's going on the, on their website. And really getting clear and specific on that aspiration, right? On that, what is it? A little bit of reverse engineering, but also a little bit, dream big.
Yeah. I like that. So what you said national trends, right? So what are you seeing as a national trend online? Something that you've just come across and you said, okay, that's interesting.
I'm seeing some interesting things that I haven't quite put my mind around. And I don't know whether it's a trend or it's a blimp at this point. Blips happen, and there's so much change and churn that I hesitate to say that something's a trend at this point.
Yeah,
The things
I get that.
I but the things that I've noticed is, when people are shifting to their virtual environments and trying to go to all of these platforms, and everywhere, all times, posting on this, and using great tools to help them post, but each one is its own environment, and it has its own biosphere, for lack of a better word. And so really understanding what you are looking for, and then making sure that you start at a place where maybe you're not spread so thin, and you're casting a net to where, in the spaces that your customers and clients would reside, and then working from there. Don't try on day one to be posting everywhere at all times.
Right.
You're just going to burn yourself out. And so I think that probably is something that needs to be considered.
And so that you think that's actually a trend that entrepreneurs get into this and they're like, okay, I've got to be on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and I've got to have a blog, and I've got to have a website, and I've got to make sure that I'm doing video content, audio content. I'm not on Alexa yet, so I got to get on Alexa. I got to be on Twitter as well. And they're getting out there and they're spending all this time trying to figure out all these systems. And of course, immediately they start automating it. So they go to Hootsuite and they grab it and they fill all their content into this one funnel. But it's like throwing a saltwater fish into fresh water. Like it doesn't belong in that environment.
Well, and it's being intentional, right? So, telling the story, and sometimes you tell the story one way in one group, and then you have to adjust it a little bit for another group. And it's just the way we humans are. We connect with stories. There's a reason why fables still exist, and all of those things. They're so human. And so if you're telling one fable in one group, or one story in one group, it may that audience is different than if you were to tell it in a slightly different way, with a slightly different manner. A small group is much different than a large group.
Absolutely. And so for Facebook, I know the typical user on Facebook is 36, like they're in that 36 range, whereas LinkedIn tends to be older, Instagram tends to be younger, Snapchat even younger, TikTok even younger. And so knowing your target audience, like you don't have, so for me, I'm a real estate investor. So Bigger Pockets, I get a lot of my clients from Bigger Pockets. It's a social media that most people don't even pay attention to, but that's my big space, followed by LinkedIn, followed by Facebook. And so the other ones, if I spend time there and money there, it's usually not a good return on investment. Now, how do you identify that for the nonprofits that you're working with?
So we go through, I have a process set up where, we'll go through as an iterative phase, where we'll look at, all of their baseline data, and then start to build on that strategy month over month, or, whatever their cycle they'd like to kind of look into. Most organizations, looking at it more than once a month is a bit overwhelming. And it also is not enough time to really see the impact of that strategy. Sometimes it is if for specific, sprints of work. But, overall it's therefore, especially for a nonprofit or a smaller organization, you want to see how that strategy builds, with small adjustments as you go through. And so that's the goal, is to start with that baseline and then move forward with what really is aligning with what you want to be doing, but also what you're seeing should be done.
Absolutely. And so how do you decide the baseline? Is it just a guess? You look at, okay, certain platforms are just better at certain industries. Like Pinterest, is not something that I'm probably going to go to for real estate investors, but it may make more sense on LinkedIn, right? It may make more sense in a specific niche. What would you say is a dead giveaway for the social platforms?
I think, you're absolutely right that it's your industry matters, the size of your organization matters, your goals matter a lot, what the intention and the outcome that it is that you're looking for, right? That end result, as well as you want to look at the analytic pieces that could help support that. So it's not just that answer, but it's all of those supporting pieces.
Right.
And that comes from the clients themselves. They provide that raw data, so to say.
Yeah.
And then it's my job to take that and put that into something that they can then analyze later. It's not just in note form, but it's something that they can pick apart and dive deeper into.
So if I were to say a typical real estate investor is looking for home sellers, we're looking for people who are going to sell their homes at a discount. We have found that they tend to be 55 plus, have owned the house more than 7 years, are high equity positions, so they put big down payments, or that they are typically high equity position, right? So like those three categories, what would you say? Where are those people hanging out? Like what is the easiest way to find those people online, right? Because now you're talking baby boom generation, essentially.
Right. So I think, it depends on your region specifically. I think that it can really be impactful because different regions use their technology in a very different way. And if you're looking in an urban area, yeah, you're probably going to be end up looking at Facebook and LinkedIn. But there's also the idea that are there's so much generational crossover at the moment. We are in touch with our families, and so you could cast a larger net and be looking at the people in their households, right? So what are their extended families looking at, so that because we all share information. Hey, I found this great article. Hey, I found this great site. Hey, this has a lot of information, check out this magazine. And we share that information probably more than we used to.
Yeah.
And so putting that in different contexts could be helpful as well.
So is it Devon or Devon?
It's Devon.
Devon. Okay. So do you think we share too much?
I don't know about you.
Like as a nation, do you think that there's too much sharing? I don't mean within families. I mean like on social media. I mean, no, I share too much for sure. But as a nation, what are you seeing out there?
I think that we are. I don't know. That's a hard thing to answer in the present. I mean, hindsight is always 2020. I think you share as much as you're comfortable with, and as much as your boundaries, within that limit. And it's personal for each and every one of us. If you're not comfortable, then you don't share.
Right.
And if you don't, if you feel comfortable with it, then that's fine. And I think that's human nature, right? There you have some
Yeah.
people who share it deeply, and then you have other people who are present and you adore them, but they're not the talker.
Right. No, I have all those people in my life. I I could totally relate. So Devin, where do you see yourself going in the next 3, 5 years? Like, what is your big project? What are you working on right now?
I have a couple of different things that I've been really interested in, and my my goal in the next couple of years is to really educate people about the data that they have that they probably don't realize they have. It's kind of my I look at it as everybody's got data, and even if you don't know it, and it's a great thing for you to have, and it can be an amazing asset, that you don't have to pay extra for,
Right.
in the smallest sense, and you don't need big data to really make an impact and to really understand what's going on. Everybody thinks that, oh, I need a huge spreadsheet, and it's like, maybe not. Let's think about it. And so that's for me is going to be the big thing, is like, hey, it doesn't have to be big data, it just has to be your data.
Right. I like that. And so you're talking about Google Analytics or Facebook pixels? Where do you
Everything.
grab the data? Yeah.
Everything. And, you know, there's so much information out there that we can, you know, utilize in a very productive, respectful of boundaries kind of way. But at the same time, you know, you may not need it all, depending on what your industry is, what you know, and then maintaining that information can be overwhelming.
Absolutely. And
You
so if
know,
people want to get in touch with you, Devon, what is the easiest way?
easiest way is to go to my website, devonmcguinness.com/contact me.
Excellent. And so you're looking to help entrepreneurs figure out their story, their virtual story, digital footprint, and maximize it so it looks good for them.
Yeah, you know, build your digital community, one that supports you and, you
I
know,
like that.
that you can grow from.
I like that a lot. I think that I'm going to have to personally have a conversation with you after this podcast to make sure that my virtual community is where it belongs. So Devon, if you go back to 20-year-old Devon, and I don't know if you're 20 right now, but if you go back to 20-year-old Devon and say, here's some advice that I would give myself to be where I want to be, happier, wealthier, and doing the things that you really love, how could you get there faster? What 3 pieces of advice would you give yourself?
Uh, Honestly, I look back and I go, I don't think I would have gotten here if I had changed anything. You know, the rough times and the good times. That's a really tough question. Would I like things to have turned out exactly the same but faster? No.
No. Timing is everything. So
I'm really happy.
what has been the best 3 pieces of advice you ever received then? We'll word it differently.
Um, I Ruth Bader Ginsburg's book, Be a Little Deaf. It's not about having the answers, it's about asking the questions. That one's from my mother. And uh, you know, I really appreciated when you know, people would call out things that I didn't always see it for myself. And it wasn't so much pieces of advice, but it was like, oh, thank you. You're right. You helped me see that. So, you know, kind of that kindness. Maybe it's not advice. It was, you know, people sharing their kindness.
Sharing an awareness, being open
Yeah.
to saying, hey, by the way, did you see this? Did you know about this? Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. And you get one more. What's another the third powerful thing that you found that really has helped you out?
Um, I think that you know, oh goodness, this is going to take me a long time. I honestly, there's so many that sit there.
You
I
only get
think,
to pick one more.
ah, you know, I think it's, um, some of the books that I've read as a child. I remember reading so many science fiction books and they helped me to really be creative, but in a very grounded way. And so maybe it's not so much advice, it was seeing something modeled that I could go, "Oh, that's amazing. I want to do that too."
Absolutely. I like
So,
that. So being able to dream a little bit, like going back, being able to dream a little bit, you know, being a little deaf, asking, you know, getting people's help or being open to people's suggestions. Because you see it as, oh, I've been blessed, but some people may say, oh, they're just criticizing me, or they're just telling me like, they're like, keep their mind to themselves. Like you're actually open to it. So, you know,
I
that's,
try.
yeah, you're doing it. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be as happy in your life if you didn't, you know, open up and take people's advice and suggestions. And Devon, yeah, phenomenal story. I've learned a lot. I definitely want to have a conversation with you in the future about my personal digital footprint. Who knows what's out there? I definitely create a spread of content all over the place, and the world may be getting a mixed message. So thank you so
There's a line.
much for adding so much value to us and the Alchemist Nation as a whole. And when you are ready to get in real estate, you let me know, Devon, because I'll be the first to take care of it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing all of your knowledge. If you want to learn more about Devon, you can go to her website, devonmcguinness.com. And if you want to learn more about the Alchemist community, people who are looking to give back and teach other people to get to that next level, go to walteramarello.com. I teach multiple free events every single week because I'm paying it forward. My mission is to build 100 millionaires who will be inspired to build 100 more millionaires every single year. When you have a choice, always work with the best. Cheers to your success.
You too. Thanks.